The Dutch coalition government, led by Geert Wilders' far-right Freedom Party (PVV), is currently embroiled in controversy over a proposal to use Uganda as a return hub for rejected asylum seekers. The plan, which is still in its early stages, would see Uganda take in individuals whose asylum applications in the Netherlands have been denied in exchange for financial compensation. The rejected asylum seekers could then be deported either to their countries of origin or to nearby nations in the region. While the proposal has been praised by some Dutch politicians as a potential solution to the increasing pressure on Europe's asylum systems, it has raised serious concerns over its legality, feasibility, and the human rights implications for the individuals involved. The idea was first floated during a trade mission to Uganda by Dutch Minister for Trade and Development Reinette Klever, who hinted that Uganda might be open to the proposal. However, crucial details remain unclear, and much of the responsibility will fall on the Dutch Asylum Minister, Marjolein Faber, to flesh out the operational aspects of how this return hub could work. Uganda's Foreign Affairs Minister, JJ Odongo, has indicated that the East African nation is open to discussing the possibility, but the country's long-standing human rights issues, particularly under the authoritarian rule of President Yoweri Museveni, make this a highly controversial option for the Netherlands. Uganda's human rights record, especially under Museveni's decades-long regime, has been subject to extensive international scrutiny. Museveni, who has been in power since 1986, has repeatedly been accused of clamping down on political opposition, freedom of speech, and civil liberties. Its crackdown on political dissent and its treatment of marginalized communities as major concerns. Given this backdrop, many critics argue that sending asylum seekers, many of whom have already fled persecution, to Uganda could put them at significant risk. Human rights advocates in both Uganda and the Netherlands have been quick to raise alarms about the proposal. Nicholas Opiyo, a prominent Ugandan human rights lawyer, warned that the plan would leave asylum seekers in legal limbo, effectively stateless in both Uganda and the Netherlands. Opiyo emphasized that such a policy would expose these vulnerable individuals to further dangers, such as arbitrary detention, abuse, and even possible deportation to countries where they face significant threats. In his view, the proposal would violate international law, including the principles of non-refoulement, which prohibit returning individuals to countries where they may face harm. Opiyo called the proposed deal a departure from the Dutch tradition of upholding human rights, describing it as very un-Dutch. Meanwhile, development expert Christophe Titeka has pointed out that Uganda has a history of using refugees as political leverage in its dealings with Western nations. Titeka argues that European countries, eager to curb migration to their own borders, have often turned a blind eye to Uganda's human rights violations under Museveni's rule in exchange for cooperation on refugee issues. Titeka fears that financial incentives could push Uganda to accept refugees without ensuring their safety or well-being. This is particularly concerning given Uganda's own internal issues, such as its struggles with corruption, weak governance, and inadequate infrastructure to support a significant influx of asylum seekers. It is important to note that Uganda already hosts one of the largest refugee populations in the world. As of 2024, the country is home to over 1.5 million refugees, mainly from neighboring South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Burundi. Uganda's open-door policy toward refugees has been praised internationally for its progressive approach, which allows refugees to work, own land, and integrate into local communities. However, critics argue that the country's capacity to host more refugees is already stretched thin, with many refugee settlements lacking adequate food, shelter, healthcare, and education. Adding rejected asylum seekers from Europe to this already overburdened system could exacerbate existing challenges and undermine Uganda's ability to care for those currently residing within its borders. Back in the Netherlands, political reactions to the proposal have been mixed. Geert Wilders and his far-right PVV party have expressed enthusiastic support for the idea, framing it as a necessary measure to reduce immigration and protect Dutch resources. Wilders, who has long campaigned on an anti-immigration platform, took to social media to promote the slogan, "Fewer asylum seekers, more Netherlands." in an effort to galvanize public support for the proposal. Wilders and his supporters argue that the Netherlands, like many other European countries, is struggling to manage the influx of asylum seekers, and that outsourcing the issue to countries like Uganda could relieve some of the pressure on the Dutch asylum system. However, not all members of the Dutch coalition government are convinced. The NSC party, another key player in the coalition, has voiced significant concerns about the plan. NSC leaders stress that any arrangement with Uganda must include guarantees for the safety and well-being of the asylum seekers, an assurance that would be difficult to achieve given Uganda's human rights record. Similarly, the populist BBB party has expressed tentative support for return hubs in principle, but raised concerns about the human rights violations that have characterized Museveni's rule. As we proceed with the video, this is the JB Mwangi podcast. If you haven't already, please take a few seconds to hit that subscribe button and join our community. Your support means a lot and keeps us going. Thank you so much. Opposition parties in the Netherlands have been even more critical of the proposal. Jesse Klever, leader of the Green Left Party, has condemned the plan as a distraction from the Dutch government's failure to address pressing domestic issues such as housing shortages and the strain on the healthcare system. Klever insists that the real solution to managing asylum seekers lies in negotiating directly with their countries of origin, rather than outsourcing the problem to nations with questionable human rights practices. According to Klever, the Dutch government should be focusing on creating long-term, sustainable solutions that address the root causes of migration, rather than pursuing quick fixes that could have disastrous consequences for vulnerable populations. The debate over the proposal is not limited to the Netherlands. The European Union has also been exploring the idea of return hubs outside the EU as a way to manage asylum seekers more effectively. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has pointed to Italy's agreement with Albania as a potential model, suggesting that such partnerships could help ease the burden on EU member states. However, legal, ethical, and practical challenges remain. Critics have pointed to the UK's failed plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda as a cautionary tale. The UK government spent over £700 million on the Rwanda plan, only to face widespread public backlash, legal challenges, and international criticism. In the end, no asylum seekers were sent to Rwanda, and the policy was abandoned. If the Dutch government proceeds with its plan to use Uganda as a return hub, the consequences could be dire. As Nicholas Opiyo noted, asylum seekers could find themselves in a no-man's land, without legal status in either country, and at significant risk of exploitation, abuse, or deportation to countries where they face persecution. Uganda, already grappling with its own economic and social challenges, may not have the resources or infrastructure to provide adequate care or protection for the asylum seekers. Furthermore, the Netherlands risks damaging its international reputation as a country committed to human rights, particularly if the deal results in the mistreatment or endangerment of vulnerable individuals. The ethical implications of the proposal are enormous. By outsourcing the responsibility for asylum seekers to countries with weaker legal systems and fewer protections for human rights, wealthier nations like the Netherlands risk setting a dangerous precedent. Instead of addressing the root causes of migration, such as conflict, poverty, and persecution, these countries may choose to shift the burden onto nations that are ill-equipped to handle it. This raises fundamental questions about justice, fairness, and the shared global responsibility to protect those fleeing danger. Ultimately, it remains to be seen how the Dutch public and the international community will react if the government decides to move forward with the proposal. Public opinion in the Netherlands is likely to play a key role in determining the fate of the plan, as immigration has become an increasingly contentious issue in the country's political landscape. Similarly, international organizations, including the United Nations and various human rights groups, are likely to scrutinize the deal and hold the Dutch government accountable for any violations of international law. For now, the future of the proposal remains uncertain. As discussions continue, it will be crucial for all parties involved to weigh the potential benefits of the plan against the significant risks it poses to human rights, international law, and the dignity of those seeking refuge from persecution. Thank you for watching. If you found this video useful and informative, please consider subscribing to our channel. JB Muwange Podcast. Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know your perspective on this crucial issue. Spread this message to your friends and ask them what they think about this important topic. Thank you and have a wonderful day.